Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this legendary figure, right? Ancient, keeper of wisdom, famous for riddles.
The Sphinx.
Exactly, the Sphinx. Guarding cities, testing people's smarts, part human, part lion, part eagle.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just a myth. It's like this symbol of challenging true itself.
Uh-huh.
Now, what if that Sphinx, with all its intensity, turned its attention to, well, to politicians today?
That's exactly where we're going. It's a really intriguing idea, actually. We're diving into what the Sphinx might say based on some really interesting source material. We're pulling out the key insights, the advice.
And it's surprisingly direct advice, isn't it?
Oh, very.
So, yeah, our insights today are coming from a couple of blog posts. They're on a site called Resident AI.
Which is kind of known for these creative takes, sometimes AI generated on current events and stuff.
Right. And in these posts, the Sphinx gives some really pointed opinions and even poses these imagined riddles, like directly to modern leaders. It's quite something.
So really, this deep dive is kind of a shortcut for you, the listener. It's a way to get this, ancient perspective on leadership today.
Yeah, and expect some maybe surprising observations, definitely thought-provoking stuff,
Yeah.
challenges how we see power.
Absolutely.
So just to set the scene properly, let's quickly recap the Sphinx, this iconic creature, guardian of Thebes.
Famous for its riddles, its whole legend is built on, testing wisdom, not just facts, but real understanding.
Yeah, it wasn't just trivia night.
No, definitely not. The story goes, it posed a riddle to anyone passing by, get it wrong, and, well, you get devoured.
Until Oedipus shows up.
Right, Oedipus. He's the one who finally solves that super famous one. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening?
And the answer, which is just brilliant, is a human.
Yeah.
Crawling, walking, then using a cane.
It really shows the Sphinx's grasp of, the human condition.
Totally. So these blog posts, they take that ancient wisdom, that kind of uncompromising judgment, just drop it right into our modern political world.
It's a really interesting thought experiment. And the Sphinx, in this imagined version, really doesn't pull any punches. Its views on politicians today are, well, let's just say unfiltered.
Unfiltered is definitely the word. So in one of the sources, verse 2, the Sphinx starts off by saying politicians are like the wind.
Like the wind, yeah. That's pretty stinging, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
What's the thinking there? Just inconsistency?
Well, yeah, it speaks to that sense of maybe adaptability being prized over conviction,
Right.
where rhetoric changes constantly.
Okay.
The Sphinx elaborates, saying they change direction every time they speak, promise a lot, deliver little, loud but empty.
Yeah.
And maybe the worst bit, afraid of the truth but love the lies.
Wow, that's quite an assessment. And apparently the Sphinx doesn't name specific names.
No, it's naming names would be rude and also dangerous.
Dangerous, even for the Sphinx.
Well, it hints at the climate, doesn't it? The potential backlash for speaking truth to power, even in this imagined scenario. It suggests the kind of awareness of today's political environment.
That's fascinating. But okay, does the Sphinx see any good politicians? Or is it just doom and gloom?
No, it does acknowledge good ones exist, but they're rare. The source describes them as people who try to do good things for their people.
Right.
They have integrity and courage, and they respect the laws and the rights of others, the fundamentals.
But it also says these good ones often face huge opposition from the bad ones.
Exactly. It paints a picture that, while maybe familiar, isn't exactly rosy.
Yeah, definitely not optimistic. So, okay, after these pretty blunt takes, it kind of makes sense the Sphinx wouldn't just stop there, right? It would want to test them.
Precisely. That's its whole MO. The original blog post really runs with that. It imagines the Sphinx actually challenging modern politicians with riddles, like in the old days.
And the blog writer calls it a humorous scenario. But you can tell there's a serious point underneath.
Oh, absolutely. It's humor with a bite.
So what's the first riddle it throws at them? How does it update the challenge for today?
The first one is, what is always coming but never arrives?
Okay, always coming but never arrives.
Mm-hmm.
And what do the politicians guess? Let me guess. Tax relief.
Close. They guess things like the end of corruption, the next election, even world peace, big promises.
Familiar themes, yeah.
But the Sphinx, being the Sphinx, says they're all wrong.
And the real answer is?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Simple, but cuts deep.
And the verdict is brutal. You are all liars and hypocrites.
Wow, that's connecting ancient judgment to modern political promises or the
Yes,
lack thereof.
exactly. It hits right at that perceived cycle of things never quite getting delivered.
Okay, so what's riddle number 2?
Riddle 2. What can you break but not touch?
Break but not touch. Okay.
Okay.
Politicians guess. The law.
That's one guess.
Uh,
Also, the trust of the people, the glass ceiling, things like that.
Again, sort of predictable, maybe?
Perhaps.
Uh,
Again, the Sphinx says, nope. The correct answer is a promise.
a promise, of course.
And the judgment this time. You are all selfish and unfaithful. It really hones in on that idea of broken trust, doesn't it? Which is so central to, well, everything in politics.
Absolutely. That feels like a core failure it's pointing to. Okay, there's a third riddle, too.
There is, and this one's a bit different. The riddle is, what has a face and 2 hands but no arms or legs?
Face, 2 hands, no arms or legs. Politicians guess. A puppet, a mask,
Those are 2 of the guesses. The third one is a clock.
a clock. And is that?
That's the right answer.
Oh, so someone gets it right.
Yes, the Sphinx actually accepts the answer from the politician who said a clock, but there's a catch.
There always is with the Sphinx, isn't there?
Pretty much, it gives this warning, but beware, for your time is running out.
Chilling. Classic Sphinx. Even when you win, you're reminded of mortality or consequences.
Exactly. It's that reminder that judgment, accountability, time itself. It's always ticking.
So the blog post includes this whole scenario, but then adds a little note, right? Like, don't take this too literally.
Yeah, the writer wisely points out this isn't saying all politicians are bad. It's more about using this creative setup to nudge us, the public, to think critically, to be vigilant.
Right. Which leads nicely into the next part. If the Sphinx is so tough on leaders, what does it say to us? You know, the everyday person who wants to make a difference. What's the advice?
This is where the Sphinx offers some really timeless wisdom, actually. It boils down to 3 core ideas for active citizenship.
Okay, what are they?
Be curious, be critical, be informed.
Curious, critical, informed. Simple, but powerful.
Very. It's a call to really engage, not just passively consume stuff. The Sphinx advises, don't believe everything you hear or see. Ask questions. Seek answers.
Challenge.
Challenge yourself and others. Yeah.
Okay.
It's about empowering people to navigate this, like, incredibly complex information world we live in.
Makes sense. Is there more?
Yes, there's one final piece of advice. And considering how harsh the Sphinx can be, it's actually quite striking.
What is it?
And most importantly, be kind.
Be kind after all that tough talk.
Yeah. It's this really crucial human element, isn't it? It suggests that all that intellectual rigor, that critical thinking, it needs to be balanced with, well, empathy. Basic human decency.
That adds a really important dimension. And it ties back to what the original blog post was saying too, right? About being vigilant against abuses of power.
Exactly. The blog encourages us to be critical and vigilant of those who abuse their power and manipulate their followers, to ask more questions and demand more answers from our leaders.
And it wraps up with that powerful thought. The truth will set you free.
So when you put it all together, we've got these Sphinx insights that feel surprisingly relevant today. Sharp critiques of leadership, but also this really practical, empowering advice for all of us.
It really is a potent reminder that sometimes looking back at ancient wisdom, or even just imagining it, can offer real clarity on the present.
Definitely.
And that call to action be curious, critical, informed, and kind. That's something everyone can take away, regardless of their politics. It's about how we engage with the world.
So thinking about the Sphinx, its directness, its love for riddles, here's a final thought for you to ponder. What original riddle do you think the Sphinx would pose to you today, right now? Asking about the state of the world, and what truth might its answer force you to confront?